Thanks. Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. Let's see if I can do the. I think I'm the. Can you put me in the spotlight, Georgie, please, for the recording? Okay. I'm super excited. Thank you for being here live on a Saturday morning, or maybe it's Saturday afternoon, wherever you are. It would be fun if you put in the chat where you're from, because it's always nice to see where people are from. Welcome to Mastering the Basics. Today I will cover how to teach a horse ascent without using pressure. And you can use this at liberty work, exercising your horse, but also in your day-to-day interactions with your horse to increase safety. How many of you would like to feel confident using positive reinforcement to exercise your horse? And who here would like to help your horse understand subtle cues? And who want to have a relationship based on mutual trust and understanding so you can steer away from coercion? If you have answered one or more questions with a yes, you're in the right place. So that's awesome. And in this Mastering the Basics class today, I will cover 3 important topics, and these topics will help you send your horse away from you without using aversives or threats. And with clicker training, your horse will be happily moving away from you, even when he rather stays with you. And this is how you can create a win-win in training, which is always more fun. You get what you want. You as a trainer gets the behavior you want, and your horse gets something he values very much. So that builds trust and relationship. The topics that I'll be covering today is, the first is, what is the behavior scent exactly? And I'll start with sharing a definition, because if you have a proper definition of the behavior you want to train, you already have the first step in your shaping plan, because you know exactly what to train and what the parameters are. The second topic today that I will be talking about is why it's better to use positive reinforcement, aka clicker training, instead of negative reinforcement to send your horse away from you. Then the third topic is how to teach your horse to happily move away from you so you can start your at liberty and movement training without frustration or fear in your horse. I will make it really practical, and I'll share examples. I have 3 videos for you today, so you can also see how it's done and what the results can be. And this is a behavior everyone can train, and it's a behavior that will keep you safe. Once you've trained it properly, it will decrease frustration and insecurity in your horse, and you'll bond over it. And it's truly amazing to witness when that happens. And as a bonus material, I added solutions for when your horse stands and faces you instead of moving away from you, and what you can do if your horse doesn't move at all, because this seems to be a major issue for many of us. So I've included that, how the solutions that I offer the members in the Academy. And this masterclass is free. And if you'd like to contribute something, I will be doing a 1-minute pitch for a good cause to donate in the middle. It's totally, don't feel obligated to donate, but if you do feel moved today, there's the cause that I will talking about, an animal rescue. There will also be a wee 5-minute shameless plug for my positive reinforcement membership program in the middle, so you know that's coming too. If you have any questions, if you're like me and you're on a webinar and somebody is teaching you something, probably you will have some questions coming up. And the best thing to do is add them in the chat right away. And Georgie, my co-host, will gather all the questions. And at the end, I will answer all the questions. I really like to do the Q&A. I'm really looking forward to it. If you are watching the recording, I'm sorry I don't record the Q&As because this is the time where I really help people implement it to their situation, and I want everybody to feel safe, so I won't be live streaming or recording the questions. And they will be in the chat, so nobody in the recording sees them. That's about the questions. A short introduction of me, Sandra Poppema. I'm from the Netherlands. I moved to Canada in 2012, and I brought my horse Kira with me. She's on the top left. I've been a positive reinforcement trainer and clicker coach for over 25 years now. And I developed the HippoLogic method to help other horse people train their horses in an easy way, and my proven system offers a clear step-by-step structure that everyone can learn to train their horses quickly and with ease. And clarity creates mutual trust and understanding between horses and humans. And when clicker training is done well, it really creates confident horses that are safe and fun to be around. And you'll get a horse that loves you and that is looking forward to see you every day, which is really pretty amazing. And since 2016, I specialized in getting fat horses fit with clicker training after my horse Kira was obese and developed laminitis. She got fit and she never found it again. And I want people to know, yes, there is hope, even if you have an obese horse. Let's talk about the topic that brought you here today. Teaching your horse ascent so you can ask him to move by himself without any pressure. So do you see a difference in body language in these horses? And based on the body language, how do you think these horses feel in the moment? And do you think this will influence the associations the horse is making with training or exercising or with their trainer? We often use circles in exercising horses. Lunging, round penning, reverse round pen are all based on circles. But did you know that circles are very hard on the body? And did you know why people developed circles? So this is really a little bit outside the scope of this topic, but it's super important to be aware of. So I put it in there because the circles are meant to keep the horse, make the horse keep going. Lunging and round penning makes it impossible for the horse to change directions if he's done with that one direction that he's circling on. And in other words, it's meant to make it really, really easy for humans. And it totally makes sense when you have 25 or 30 horses to train, or when you have an army that uses horses and you need to train them. But when you have your horse because you want to befriend him and build a relationship, circles, especially in the beginning, are not your friend. Because what happens if you make exercising really, really hard and aversive? Your horse gets reluctant. So therefore I developed an exercise that is easy and fun for horses. It's simply a rectangle, because a rectangle has long straight lines that are easier and the most natural ways for a horse to move. So why not use that in your exercise regime so we can make it fun for horses too? The more he likes it, the easier it will be, right? So if you have just one takeaway from today, I want you to know that if you ask your horse to do something that is easy and fun, it's more likely that he will do it. So what is ascent? Starting with definition creates a really clear picture in your mind of what you want to accomplish. And with that, it's way easier to train than when you're not clear about what you want. So think about it next time. Are you really clear about what you want to train? It's a fun exercise. Therefore, a shaping plan starts with a clear definition of your goal behavior. And a shaping plan, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, it's a written manual that you write yourself to train a behavior from the start to the end using positive reinforcement. So it contains all the baby steps. And in my definition, ascent means that the horse is willingly and without hesitation moving away from the trainer, and the behavior is on cue. So that's the goal, because the cue provides information where you want the horse to go and in what pace. And speed is obvious and advanced criterion. And you can also teach this to use to teach a horse to move out of your personal space if desired. So here is why it's very important to ask your horse to move away from you. Safety. Sending your horse away from you and increasing the distance between you and your horse can really increase safety. From a distance, your horse can't push you, he can't step on your toes, he can't run you over. Now, these are behaviors that I don't see happen a lot in clicker trained horses, but having your horse not in your pocket is really a plus. When your horse moves away willingly and on cue, you provide clarity, and this prevents a lot of frustration in horses as well as in trainers. A proper scent can also help your horse, teach your horse other behaviors, like stop mugging you for treats. And I've addressed this in a previous masterclass, which you can find on the HippoLogic YouTube channel. It's very convenient to be able to send your horse into a trailer without you, into a stall, because maybe you are handling multiple horses at the same time, or just through a gate on his own when it's super muddy. With a scent, you can direct him from a distance. So even when there's a fence between you and your horse, once you can do this, you can train many other behaviors, even when your horse is untouched at the moment. And it's also the first step in at liberty or movement training. So as you can see, there's lots of reasons to train your horse ascent with positive reinforcement. So here's a video of Fionn, and that's my mini. And this is what it can look like to exercise your horse with positive reinforcement. I will show you a video later on in which you can see Fionn's first session, which totally looks completely different. It doesn't look anything like this. So I want you to keep that in mind. This is a video which is way later in training, but I really want to give you an idea of the things that you can accomplish and how you can use the scent in at liberty and movement training. As you can see, you don't need much equipment. There's no need to create a storage for reverse round pen or some other things. The setup can be as easy as 4 buckets or cones, and it will take you less than a minute to set it up and take it down. So I call it the at liberty rectangle. It's pretty easy to teach a horse to offer forward movement, so then you can easily go to trot, built on duration. And as you can see, at this point, I'm also offering a lot of clicks and treats for all kinds of behaviors, for changing direction, offering more movement, and all that kind of fun stuff. And wow, he's already offering canter there. Clockwise was very challenging for him, and that's the advantage of working at Liberty, because you can see more clearly what your horse is communicating. If he goes just more reluctant one way than another, then you can ask yourself, why is that? And you can address that. So counterclockwise, he was very, very good. And if I should move with him with a target stick, I just couldn't keep up with him. So this is just, once you've taught the scent, you can do fun stuff like this behavior. So before we go on, I really want to explain some of the jargon that I will be using today. Reinforcement means strengthening a behavior. You'll get more of it. A plus means adding, and a minus means subtracting, just like in math. Positive reinforcement is written with a capital letter R from reinforcement, and the plus indicates that we are adding something in order to strengthen that behavior. So it needs to be an appetitive, something the horse wants to have. In other words, the horse learns that something good will happen when he performs a behavior. And it's important to notice that in positive reinforcement, the reinforcer comes after the behavior. In order to offer clarity, we use a bridge signal or a marker, that's the clicker, to mark the desired behavior. And that's why we use a clicker or a word to pinpoint the exact behavior we want to see more of. So in positive reinforcement, we have to give the horse something he wants to have and is willing to work for, and that is called an appetitive. And an appetitive is per definition something the horse loves to have. Negative reinforcement, we strengthen a behavior by taking away something the horse wants to avoid. For instance, pressure release. And the horse wants to avoid that pressure because it's uncomfortable, scary, or painful. And the thing the horse wants to avoid is called an aversive. And the aversive is applied before the desired behavior happens and is taken away the moment reacts in the desired way. So the horse learns to anticipate on the aversive by avoidance behavior. And it's always the learner who decides if something is an appetitive or an aversive, and the body language gives us important cues as well as behavior. And if we get more of the desired behavior or better quality or longer duration, we know our reinforcer worked, whether it was an appetitive or an aversive. But the thing is, this is something that I really want to emphasize. If people say, I'm stroking my horse, I'm giving him scratches, if he likes the scratches and you get more of that behavior, it was really appetitive and it was a real reinforcer. If you don't see anything happening in the quality of the behavior, then yeah, your horse loved it maybe, or maybe not, but it didn't give you more of that desired behavior. So we really have to pay attention to the consequences of our appetitives. Were they really appetitive? Were they really reinforcing that behavior? So when you're able to send your horse away from you with positive reinforcement, your horse will learn quickly that he gets something he wants for leaving you. And when you mix or change positive reinforcement to negative reinforcement, you can create great inner conflict in your horse. When your horse is insecure if he will get the carrot or the stick for his choice, he might even become aggressive. So when you change from negative reinforcement to positive reinforcement in training, your horse can also get insecure at first. Because first he needs to learn that he can trust you and that something good will happen for offering behavior. In negative reinforcement, which traditional training and natural horsemanship training is based on, the horse is almost always punished for offering a behavior spontaneously. In negative reinforcement, the trainer really wants obedience. And that can be a reason for a horse to face their trainer in being sent away and that he doesn't want to move. The moment the horse offers movement in negative reinforcement training, offers, so he's not asked to do it, but he's offering it, he will be punished for it oftentimes. The trainer will make sure that the horse will move, so he will never do that again on his own initiative. This is a very common practice in natural horsemanship. Also, in natural horsemanship, I've done natural horsemanship, so I'm speaking from experience. The horse is also often taught to give you two eyes, and that is therefore the safest behavior a horse can choose, because that is one of the behaviors that made the aversives go away in the past. So therefore, offering your horse clarity in training, is he expecting the carrot or the stick, is super important. And my advice is to pick either positive or negative reinforcement when you train a new behavior, and do not mix the two, especially not in training a new behavior. And there's also always one motivator. So even if the horse moves by avoiding pressure and you give a treat on top, it doesn't really matter because he moved because of the aversive. So the two most common struggles you shared with me getting on this class are horses that are facing their trainer and horses that don't want to move. So why are horses doing this? Because when you find the cause of the behavior, you can address it before retraining it, and the training will go much faster. So let's take a look at some of the solutions for these struggles. But before I get to this, I want to share this amazing charity and non-profit organization with you. So this is the Llama Sanctuary, and it's the largest rescue for camelids in North America. David and Lynn are my friends now, and they're doing an amazing job rescuing llamas and alpacas every day. So moving and public speaking are one of the two top main stressors in human life. And can you imagine what it would be like to move with 45 elderly, sick, or even crippled alpacas and llamas? Now imagine doing that 3 times in 1 year. And just finding a place that accommodates so many animals is hard, if not impossible, but they did it. And it's also incredibly costly to move everything you have, all those animals. I don't know how many bales of hay they have moved back and forth to every place, but it's super stressful. And not only stressful, it's an enormous financial burden to move with so many animals each way. Now they have hopefully find their forever home in Tappan in BC in the eco park, but this place is a blank canvas. There was nothing aimed at animals. So while Lynn is taking care of the llamas and the alpacas in the infirmary, David is building shelters. He has built over 10,000 feet of llama-proof fencing all by himself, and he's building more animals for the animals as well, more buildings for the animals as well. And you can read their story in the link that Georgie will share with you. Don't feel obligated to donate at all. It's totally up to you, but I thought this was a good opportunity to bring this attention, since I assume we are all animal lovers here. And if you go to the link, you can also find a link to share it on your social media. Now let's get to my wee 5-minute shameless plug for the HippoLogic Clicker Training Academy. What is the Academy? It's a year-long program designed specifically, it's online, for passionate horsewomen like yourself who have a deep appreciation for clicker training and positive reinforcement and want to develop their skills and create an amazing connection with their horse. When you join me in the Academy, you'll get the opportunity to share your training videos and get personal feedback from me so that you can get all the details right. You get weekly Q&As to get all your questions answered so that you can move quickly and get your results faster because you don't get stuck. And you have access to the online clicker training library, which contains recordings of masterclasses, Q&As, and my personal training videos in which you can see how behavior is trained from A to Z. And the total value of this program, I don't go into the details, but it's over $10,000. If you join today, you will get 3 amazing bonuses. The Confident Clicker Trainer course, which is $1,000. The Movement Training course, which is has a value of $600, and the Grass Training that has a value, if you get that with coaching, for $200. And I will be tailoring all these bonuses to your horse, to your situation. So whether you want to get your overweight horse in shape, to prevent laminitis, start your youngster under saddle with positive reinforcement, or transform your woe horse into a go horse, you'll get the access and guidance you need to get that done. There's no cookie cutter approach. Together we will make it happen, and I'm here to guide you every step on the way. So if you would like to have weekly accountability and someone to help you make your dreams come true and help you get your horse fit with clicker training, join the Academy. Every season brings new challenges. In spring it's grass that is distracting. In summer you may be dealing with heat. In autumn people complain about mud, and in winter it's often cold. You can still exercise your horse and still keep him in shape, and that's why this is a year-long program. And also, if you have a recovering laminitis horse, it just takes time. So that's why this is a year-long program to guide you through every step of the way. There's only 10 spaces open for new members today due to personal coaching everyone gets. And the cost of this amazing one-year program is only $1,500 Canadian dollar. And for those who don't want to or cannot pay that, I have a convenient payment plan, which is $140 a month. Georgie will share the link to apply. So please go ahead and click the link so you have that link. I will send it out later today. Make sure you keep this link available because that's the only way to join the Academy. You cannot join it in another way. Once you have applied, you will get a confirmation email and an invite if I think you're a great fit. So before we go to the how to train Ascend, it's important to understand your struggle first and know why this is happening so you can address it. So here are 7 of the most common reasons horses struggle with being sent away. So insecurity. The horse is insecure about what is happening next. So this can be a lack of trust or simply not understanding the cue of the trainer. So the solution is to build trust by making the steps in your training smaller. Can be another training too, right? And increasing your rate of reinforcement to guide your horse with a lot of yeses. Yes, this is what I want. Yes, this is what I want. So you make it really, really clear. So in other words, click more often and focus on some repetitions before asking a little bit more. And this is a good way of building confidence in your horse that he's doing the right thing. Another reason that your horse doesn't want to move away from you is because your horse has been reinforced to stay with you in all previous training. Of course, he doesn't want to leave you. During all these behaviors that you have trained previously, you were standing in close proximity. So the solution is to build trust with positive reinforcement and lots of encouragement. Do a little bit more repetitions to build confidence in your horse. Use a high rate of reinforcement, which means click and treat a lot in the beginning, to teach your horse that increasing the distance between you and him is what you want to see more of. I have an example video for you today in which I show you how you can do that. Another reason your horse doesn't want to move away from you is fear or other emotions. When horses are afraid, frustrated, angry in training, the first step is to acknowledge their emotions and address them before clicker training something else and laying a whole new behavior on top of those feelings, undesired feelings. Because when you don't do it, when you don't address those emotions first, even when you don't realize it, it will often come back to bite you. Sometimes, unfortunately, literally. But this is why a second pair of eyes comes in handy to find your blind spots in training. Because if your horse is building up frustration, it can change to aggression if you don't address that. Some horses just feel safe with you and therefore don't want to leave you. So the solution would be baby steps in training. Start where your horse is at, not where you expect him to be. Use a solid shaping plan. I share mine at the end. Use a high rate of reinforcement for increasing the distance between you and him. And you can also offer enrichment in the form of new things and new experience to build his confidence in other ways. This confidence will then transfer to other situations, and it can make him more confident also about leaving you at liberty. Resource. He wants to be with you or your treats, and he doesn't want to leave his resource. Solution, again, reinforce for moving away, because that's what he wants. That's the resource that he's going for. So reinforce going to a mat so you can reinforce the distance and teach him that how close you are doesn't say anything about the rate of reinforcement coming his way. So up until now, he's maybe used to getting treats only when he stands right next to you. So teach him that the close distance isn't a predictor for the amount of treats that he gets. Lack of clarity. Some horses simply don't understand what you want. Even though you give the cue or the command, you have done it over and over, it still can be because he doesn't understand you. And he's looking for clues, so offer more clarity. Usually a shaping plan helps so that you know exactly what to click for, when to click for, and how to give the treat. So you're feeding for position and it supports the behavior and it supports your goal. So this will give your horse clarity and he will pick up fast what he needs to do next. Some horses are afraid of what happens next. They are insecure. When they have been traumatized by traditional lunging, a previous owner, or circling games, they don't feel safe to turn their flank or hindquarters to you. So their safest bet for the horse is to give you those two eyes that I talked about. It's how they have learned to anticipate on aversives in the past. So the solution is offering trust by offering baby steps. When horses are truly traumatized, starting with some foundational behaviors first to teach them they have a choice and a voice in training is the best route. Don't feel as if this is the longer route, because the smaller steps you make, the faster your horse learns and the faster you will get the results you are looking for. This brings me to the second topic of today, why it's important, in my point of view, to use positive reinforcement and why it will get you better results. When you can reward your horse with something he wants instead of something he wants to avoid, you will get enthusiastic engagement. Your horse starts to think about what you want. Positive reinforcement really requires your horse to think, to make a decision, while negative reinforcement requires your horse to be passive and only react. Every time you use positive reinforcement in training a behavior, you make your horse smarter. Horses love the mental challenges training offers just as much as the food rewards, if not more. They start looking forward to interact with you because now there's more to gain. People often think clicker training is only about the treats, but studies have proven that animals love to work for their food and choose to work for it even when they also have ad-lib access to the same amount of food. You might have seen this in your own horse or with a horse that is in the pasture and still prefers the grass that you are offering him over the grass that is all around him. You build positive associations with exercising, which most horses have associated with aversives. So if you have an energy saver or your horse is overweight or reluctant to move, they usually respond very well to positive reinforcement. I hear it all the time. My horse is he's very food motivated. And whenever somebody says, my horse is food motivated, even though he's reluctant to move, I know we have a winner, because we can change his attitude to exercising by making it appetitive in itself. Straight lines, remember? So in clicker training, you really listen to your horse, and you have to, otherwise you cannot set up the environment in a way that invites your horse to offer that desired behavior, because you can only reinforce the behavior after or when that behavior is happening, not before. So listening to your horse and acting onto his fears, his worries and enjoyment will have an enormous impact on the relationship with your horse. So that's why I really prefer to use positive reinforcement. So let's get to the third topic of today, the how. I know this is the part that you've been waiting for. How to teach your horse to happily move away from you so you can start at liberty work without frustration and fear in your horse. So let's see how we can start teaching a horse to move away from us, the food source. So which way you choose depends on your horse, his education level and experience with positive and negative reinforcement training. But I just want you to know there's more than one way that leads to Rome. And mat training is just one way. And I recommend starting with this when your horse is completely new to clicker training. Start by teaching your horse to step onto a mat. Mat training is one of the 6 key lessons I teach in the Confident Clicker Trainer course. And the key lessons I use as stepping stones to train more complex behaviors, like at liberty movement training, for instance. So having stepping stones like this will really help to offer your horse clarity. So the mat will give your horse clear information where you want him to go. It's also super helpful for us as trainers because we know exactly what to click for and when to click, right? So once your horse can stand on a mat, which is often taught in just one or two or a couple of sessions, the next step is to sending your horse to the mat by increasing the distance between you and the mat. And it's important that from now on, you start reinforcing the behavior you actually want, the send. So stop reinforcing standing onto the mat, click for moving towards the mat. And it's also very important to teach your horse to go without you, because this is a pitfall that is so often and so common. So remember the definition of assent. The horse is willingly and without hesitation moving away from the trainer on cue. So stop walking with your horse in this phase of training, or you might fall into the pitfall that you become the cue for moving forwards. So he will only move when you move because you are the cue. So that will become your bottleneck later in training when you're ready to teach trot and canter. Start with one step away from the mat and slowly increase your distance. Really secure. Click for only moving towards the mat. While you are standing still, offer a treat when your horse is standing on the mat. So this way you create a clear visual and clear expectations for your horse. Your horse hears the click. Oh, I'm moving towards the mat. I'm moving away from you. This is reinforced. And once you feed on the mat, he knows that he will get his reinforcement there. So therefore you teach him that he doesn't need to stay with you. It's the resource, but he will get it once he's there. And once he stands on the mat, you can move. But it's super important to reinforce that part that he's moving and you're not. So do not make the distance too big at first. Your horse will offer some other behaviors that has led to treats in the past. And when he does that, you know he's just asking you, what do I have to do for the treat? So, which means that he's actually guessing. And the more he has to guess, the more frustration you will cause. So keep his guessing at a minimum. So here's a basic shaping plan of how you train it. It's all taught in the academy. I've written shaping plans for you there. So first, you teach standing on a mat. Reinforce all behaviors that go towards the mat or go towards standing on a mat. You can click for one foot on the mat and then slowly increase your criteria until you have 2 front feet on the mat. Also, reinforce moving off of the mat. I reinforce incompatible behaviors early in training, so it will be way easier to teach your horse the cues in a later phase. And you won't turn the mat into such a strong magnet for your horse, which he doesn't want to leave anymore, because that can be a problem. Then you can add cues to the behaviors on the mat, leaving the mat, but also walking past the mat and ignore the mat. The cues will give the horse information about what behavior will be reinforced, and he can make educated guesses based on your cues, not on his guesses. Teach moving towards the mat. From a distance starts with one step and then slowly increase your distance. And then you can add another mat closely to the first one. And here's when your horse is confident to leave mat number 1 already, because he has sufficient information based on previous training sessions to know what will happen. He will get reinforced for leaving the mat, for moving towards another mat, while increasing the distance between him and you. And this is really important to notice, because in this stage of training, he chooses to increase the distance between him and you. Your horse confidently chooses. Let that sink in. So think about what cues you want to teach. For instance, your pointing arm, but you can also add a verbal cue that goes with your body language. For instance, go there, and then point in the direction where you want him to go. This arm movement, in my experience, is something that dogs really seem to understand way quicker than horses. I really don't know what my pointing arm looks like in my horse's point of view, but their first instinct is to look at you. So horses by nature tend to look where other horses look. So when you are looking instead of pointing, it's so obvious you look at your horse and then you point, but when you also look where you want your horse to go, that might give your horse more information because they want to know where you're looking at. So this is something that you can try out. But horses are smart and they will learn to know what what the meaning is of your pointing arm. And then, but if they look where you are looking, their body will follow their head. So if they are already facing in the right direction, it's very easy for the body to move that way too. So here's what a visual cue of the mat comes in very handy at this point in training, because you know where they will go. So just a reminder, following a pointing arm is not a natural cue. It's something that requires a lot of brain power and repetition for horses. Just something that I want you to know, to be aware of, because how can you make it easier? Taking natural behavior of your learner into account greatly benefits the results that you will get in training. So when you use a target stick, for instance, you can shorten the target stick until you almost hold it near the target. And that way you can easily fade out your target stick if you use a target stick to guide your horse to the mat or to wherever you want him to go. Because in fact, you want to fade out your training tools as much and as quickly as possible, because otherwise they will become a part of the cue and they might become crutches. So then if you don't have your target stick, you lose a lot of behaviors that way. Might possibly so, because your horse is depending on that training tool that you're using. So my aim is always to get to the final cue as soon as possible, and not stick with your training cues. So now you've taught your horse successfully to leave you confidently, without frustration or feeling insecure. And then the next step is to teach your horse to move around an object. That is really the basics of my at liberty training. And this helps to create forward movement because he won't be able to step onto an object and stay there. So take a cone, a bucket, or whatever you have available. In my case, it was a metal feed bin. And let's take a look how quickly Fionn learned to move around an object. And this is my first session of teaching him to go around an object. So when you replace the mat with a cone, you can use your cue, your pointing arm, and go there, maybe if you have that as a verbal cue, in combination with your body language, to give your horse additional information where you want him to go and what you want him to do. So he already knows the cue, go there, and therefore he will be confident to figure out to go around an object is what you want. And your clicks and your treats will tell him he's making the right decisions. So in clicker training, you prevent frustration in your horse by using a high rate of reinforcement, which means that you click often and be very generous with often low value food rewards. If your horse is not motivated enough, you can increase the rate of reinforcement or the values of your food rewards. Increase your criteria slowly. So the beginning, this is where positive and negative reinforcement looks so different, because it's so easy to make your horse trot and canter within the first session if you use an aversive. In positive reinforcement, we really need the horse to be on our side and choose to do what we want him to do. So we have a lot of more preparations to do, like setting up this the situation in a way that is easy for horses to understand what we want. So we increase criteria slowly, and then when you see frustration, confusion in your horse, or your horse refuses to act on your cue, go back in training where he was still successful, and then stop the session and figure out what it is that you missed. Reflect why your horse got confused or frustrated in training. Was it because you raised your criterion too quickly, which you will see happening in this video. Maybe you made the steps too big and he didn't follow it anymore, or you did something or something in his environment maybe changed that caused a distraction. For instance, his body moved out of sight, dinner time at the barn starts, or something else. All these things can disturb your sessions. So I deep dive into these real life struggles, and I offer solutions tailored to you and your horse based on your training videos. So here's Fion's first session. I'm teaching him here to send him around an object. And as you can see, my first session is very, very short. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. My rate of reinforcement is pretty high. I click 24 times. In the video that I showed you in the beginning, in the summer, where he's already running around, you don't see me click and treat as often. So this is how you start, and it doesn't look like anything like the end goal behavior, and that's a very big difference between negative and positive reinforcement. But it doesn't go particularly slower, maybe for us humans, because we have to retrain ourselves. Let's take a look. So I'm calling Fionn. I'm standing close to the object, and I'm pointing because he knows a hand target. So he already gets like clicks. Oh, he's going the wrong way. So the moment he turns to my right side, I immediately click because I want to tell him this is what I want to see more of. And every step, and here I'm changing, here I'm trying to stand still when he is moving. Because the aim is also to send him away from me, and I don't want to become the cue. So I need to keep my feet still and rely on my other cues, like pointing, verbal cues. And then here I'm feeding for position because he was, and here he's not moving around the thing. So I'm feeding with position and I'm clicking more. So what happens is that he's already offering forward movement in just in the first session. The snow is helping me because there's a little trail in the ice. And here I'm causing frustration, I think, is at this point. There's a point where I raise my criteria too quickly, and he's like, I don't get it anymore. Yeah. So here I'm standing too far away, and he doesn't go around. He scratches his nose. He's really confused. He's conflicted here. So I'm asking him something simple to do to get around me. I could have clicked a little bit sooner when I'm watching this back. And then he does it really, really good. So this is a good time to stop the session. And this is the point where I realize it. I did want to do a little bit more for the sake of the video. So that's a little bit of my pitfall. And then all gone. End of training session to offer beyond clarity. No more treats can be earned at this point because the training is over. So I promised you 3 videos today, and this one show what you can accomplish once you master the scent. And you don't need to build an expensive or complicated reverse round pen. 4 objects is all you need, and whatever you have is good enough. This is Kira. This is after she recovered from a laminitis. So this is where I started to develop the whole, like, let's get away from circles and let's see what we can do to make movement really wonderful for her, because she was very reluctant to move. You can see many behaviors that are involved in advanced movement training, and this is just the beginning. And when you have your horse on your side, this is really a fantastic way to being together, training, to getting your horse fit and keeping him healthy. In this video, I'm still walking a lot with her, more than I do now, but that's how I started. But you can really see how she bends around those cones. I have reinforced bending, like taking really focusing on the inner hind leg, so she could carry herself better. Head lowering in movement is really good way to keep your horse balanced, and that they move in a proper way. Hold, and as you can see, she doesn't need to be with me. I can move away without her coming towards me. That's what I call key lesson patience. That's one of the 6 basics, and here I'm teaching her to go around. Look at my feet. I keep my feet still because, like I said, you don't want to become a part of your horse's cue. Oh, is she moving? I can move. Oh, she's not moving? I don't know what you're meaning. So that is really, really important to be aware of all these details, and that's why it can be super handy to have like a second pair of eyes on your training. So we've come to the end of this Mastering the Basics class. Now you know why you should choose clicker training to send your horse away from you, what benefits clicker training has, and how to teach your horse a scent without using pressure. So you can start at liberty work without frustration and fear in your horse. How many of you have at least learned one new behavior or heard one new thing? I would love to have some feedback from you. Maybe you learned something new, or you were reminded of a thing that you totally had forgotten about. And then type in the chat what it is, because your feedback is very valuable and appreciated. And I hope that you are motivated to start a movement training and teach your horse ascent. If you want guidance, you know what to do. Apply for the HippoLogic Clicker Training Academy. Let's stop the recording. I love to see your faces because I'm going to do the Q&A now.